What's up, man? USCJ here. It's the top of the morning. It's the top of the morning. Listen, I hope everybody is getting ready to get up, get out, and make some things happen this morning. Listen, we got to talk about who is the real wide receiver you. Listen, this conversation is an ongoing conversation with some. Look, it is a finished and a settled conversation with USC fans because we know the caliber of players that USC has always had the capability of getting, especially when you talk about skill position. One thing that we've always stated here, even though we had what we call so-called down years, even though those interior players weren't up to par to the level of play that we know that they should have been, we understand that USC has always had the skill players, even in the so-called down years. So we want to take a look at that. We want to compare and contrast who USC receivers were in the past and some of the guys. And one of the statements that I've always made too, when you're talking about wide receivers, is that even in the down years, they've had guys like Drake London, Michael Pittman Jr., Miles St. Brown. All these guys were on the same, Tyler Vaughns. All these guys were on the same team. How can you be that much of a down team and have caliber of players? And when you look at guys, even like Juju Smith-Schuster, these guys are successful players right now in the NFL. Michael Pittman is successful. Amon St. Brown is very successful. Who else am I missing? And so you got multiple guys that are just very successful right now, currently in the NFL. And this was during down year times. So we're gonna take a look at that. And then even somebody like Jordan Addison, when he came in, Jordan Addison, one of the statements that I made, we've had guys on the roster that were already capable, qualified, and you guys know I brought to you last year, even when Jordan Addison came, I did the receiver production. Of course, you guys know I compared wide receivers with our current wide receiver from last year group with Ohio State, and I did the production, I did the numbers, and we came up with USC on top. That was when Jordan Addison came. And but we had guys like Gary Bryant, we had guys like Taj Washington, Michael Jackson, Kyle Ford, all those guys that were John Jackson, Kyron Ware Hudson, all those guys who were currently already on the roster, and they were local talent. Those guys were already guys that were able to produce when Jordan Addison came in. Jordan Addison just added to, he was just another big part of the history of USC's capable, qualified, unbelievable wide receiver talent room that they've always had. So we'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at who USC wide receivers were in the past and just kind of compare who you guys think is wide receiver you. I'm going to say USC, but we're going to look at this real quick. So let's look at this information real quick. Let's go. So is USC currently wide receiver you? And when you look at a history of these guys, man, that are absolutely insanely, just remarkably, some of the best wide receivers to ever play in the game, man. Hands down, man, USC as a whole is wide receiver you, in my opinion. And one of the most underrated guys, I think, and you see him up top here, the biggest one here, Juju Smith-Schuster, 63 receptions, 1,160 yards, first place in the Pac-12, and then 10 TDs. Man, Juju Smith-Schuster was so underrated. And when you look at the guys that even the history of guys that came before him, man, you got Nelson Aguilar. I mean, Nelson Aguilar was an absolute beast. He was just so elusive, so fast, and he's still consistent. I mean, he's still in the league. You got a guy like Marquise Lee, Biletnikoff winner. You know, when you talk about Biletnikoff winner, this was something that USC was very, very used to. I mean, this was nothing new. You expect guys to be Biletnikoff winner. You expect guys to be in the running every single year. And so you got guys like Robert Woods, Biletnikoff finalist. That was the norm. Robert Woods was a beast. He was consistent, even in his NFL career. Then you got guys like Steve Smith. He was an All-American. Unbelievable player. Absolutely unbelievable. You guys know the acrobatic catches that he made, how consistent his hands were. And you see here, that picture pretty much states who Steve Smith was. When you look at that, he followed that ball all the way in, and he caught the ball and made sure he secured it. Then you got somebody like Dwayne Jarrett, a big body guy. We got guys that are coming in like Deuce Robinson now, Jacoby Lane. Those guys are, Dwayne Jarrett type bodies. Deuce Robinson being bigger, Jacoby Lane being more like Dwayne Jarrett. But you got long type of lanky guys like that was just absolutely incredible. And then you got guys like Mike Williams. Man, what can we say about him? Mike Williams just went crazy his freshman year. And, of course, you guys know the story what happened with Mike Williams. But I'll tell you what, if he would have stayed in college, man, what could have happened with somebody like Mike Williams? He was absolutely just a monster as a freshman, came in. And then you got the local product that's just absolutely, I think he's probably my all-time favorite wide receiver. He is Mr. Wide Receiver, Biletnikoff finalist, Keyshawn Johnson. He is USC. When you talk about USC, one of the first faces that you're probably ever going to see or think about is going to be either Reggie Bush, I would say, in my opinion, or Keyshawn Johnson. You guys hit me in the comment section. That could be a whole nother topic. Who is the first person you think about when you think about USC? I think Keyshawn Johnson or Reggie Bush. Those are the two most memorable and thinkable faces that come to my mind, and especially Keyshawn Johnson. He grew up not far from me at all. He went to Dorsey High School. He is imprinted in my mind big time, heavy. So, man, look, you guys hit me. Tell me what you guys think. And do I even have to talk about this guy, Drake London, how underrated of a player that he really was, man. The guy, when I tell you what, he got hurt his last year, and as a result, he could not finish out. We'll take a look at that clip again. But Drake London was a guy that I tell you, I think he finished, if I'm not mistaken, with like 700 yards, but he got hurt in the season. So I think he was on pace to be the Biletnikoff Award winner over Jordan Addison that year if he would have just stayed healthy, if you guys remember. Is it go time or is it go time? Is it on the popping or is it on the popping? Listen, USC should be the consensus wide receiver U. Hands down. We shouldn't even have to have this argument. We shouldn't even have to have this case. And, it's good. It's a consistency that has taken place all throughout history, all throughout years of college football. USC has always been able to maintain quality wide receiver production out of their wide receiver, making it wide receiver U. Man, look, you guys hit me in the comment section. You guys tell me what you think. Like, share, subscribe. Listen, you guys already know where you can find me. It's going to be USCJ32 on Instagram, USCJ32 on Twitter. Listen, until later on, everybody stay blessed. Continue to have a great Memorial weekend. Fight on, fight on, fight on.